Hello, welcome to Essentials of Anatomy and Physiology, Bio 105. This is Susan Carboni and I will be your instructor for that class. Just need to get into the right one. In order to access your eraser courses, you log on to www.cmconnect.edu, and under My Courses you will see a list of all the courses for which you are registered. You scroll down until you find the course you want. This is Bio 105, and here's your Bio 105 eraser site. So, instead of discussing the syllabus in class and going over some of the features of the course, I'm going to put together this podcast. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the syllabus. So let's go over that first. Click on the syllabus button here. It'll bring you to this file. I typically right click and open in a new window. At the top of the syllabus it has the course number and the name of the course. My name, Susan Carboni. It has my email address if you want to email me. The location of my office, it's in Jalbert Hall, 523. That's on the second floor of Jalbert, behind the student lounge. And this is my campus phone, although I respond to email much faster than I do the phone. So we are going to meet in Jalbert 537. So my office is actually just before you get to 537 on the left-hand side as you're walking from the cafeteria end of that hallway. So we're going to be meeting from 9:30 a.m. Till 5 minutes to 11 on Mondays and Wednesdays. I will let you read the course description, although I do want to point out that this course has a prerequisite, which is Gen Bio, lab and lecture, so General Biology 101, 102 at the college level. This section says that we will be meeting for 43.5 hours. I expect you to put in at least twice that many hours over the semester, and so a total commitment of about 135 hours minimum in order to be successful in this class. The next section of the syllabus has some course objectives. They're very specific to a particular chapter. The next section goes over the chapter topics that we will, or the chapter titles that we will be talking about. So let's go down to this section, which is the course requirements. You are required to attend and participate in class, which requires the use of a student response clicker. These are devices that you can answer questions with. I have software and a receiver that will sense your answers, and I will have a log of how you answered the questions. And what I do is, for those students that receive 50% or more correct answers during the semester, I will give you 5 points on your final exam. The student response clickers can be purchased in the bookstore, although you might find another student that wants to sell one. Just make sure that you can see the number on the back lower part of the clicker, because you will need that to register them. So it is important that you register the clickers, and I'll go over that when we get back to the main eraser page. I also expect you to satisfactorily complete all the chapter tests, the quizzes, class assignments, and the final exam. You will need a pencil to take your exams because there are bubble sheets to fill in. I also recommend that you have notebooks for taking notes, and I'll also explain to you how you can print out the text from the PowerPoint slides that I'll be using. You will also be needing to access Eraser to obtain the syllabus that I'm going over now, and there's some other learning materials there for you. You will also be working in another site called masteringamp.com, and that's where you'll be doing your homework. The course ID for that Mastering AMP site is Bio 105 Carboni, all capital letters, and this 105 is a number. Okay, so here's how I'm going to calculate your final grade. There are 6 exams. The average of the 6 exams is 30% of your grade. the average of your quizzes is 30%, then the average of your homework exams, the mastering assignments, which is homework, is 10%, and then the final exam is 10%. So everything you do in the class has a numerical number, and you can convert that to a letter grade using this grade scale that's right here. Okay, let's go over my course policies. I expect everybody to be present for every exam that I give, but occasionally life will get in the way and you will not be able to be there. I insist that if you're not there, that you let me know about it around the time of the exam, and it needs to be an excused absence, which means that it needs to be for good reason, and that can be any number of reasons. You may be sick, a child may be sick, somebody that you take care of may be sick, your car breaks down. There are any number of excusable emergencies. I just need to know about them. And if I don't hear about them, I will give you a 0 for that assessment. Now, I will let you, if you have an excused absence, I will let you make up that exam. You need to schedule that by either emailing me, calling me, or signing up for a time on the bulletin board across from my office door. So my office is J523. When you're standing at my office door and you turn 180, there's a bulletin board there. On the bulletin board there will be some sheets of paper with times available to make up exams, and you can also use that to sign up for a time to meet for me in my office. All of my office hours or appointments with me are by appointment. Okay, if you miss a class, there are vodcasts from previous semesters that you can access on the eraser page, and I'll show you where those are when we get back to that page. Now, I have a pretty strict cell phone policy. I expect all of your cell phones to be off, no texting, and also on the day of an assessment, an exam, or a quiz, I expect your cell phones to be off and away. If I see any of them out, I will fill you for that assessment. Okay, I've already mentioned where my office is. It's in Jalbert Hall 523. My office hours are by appointment. And there's also going to be tutoring available to you. I will let you know when those tutoring hours are once the semester starts. I'll let you read the disability access statement and the affirmative action statement. I will also, I will talk about the ethical behavior. It basically says do not cheat. You should have plenty of room when we're taking exams in the J537, so you should be able to keep your eyes on your own paper. Now, the civility statement basically just says that I will hold you responsible for getting to class on time. It's very disruptive if you come into the room late, and packing up and leaving early is also disruptive. Sleeping, interrupting others, and not paying attention, texting, all of those things are very disrespectful and very disrupting. So I just ask you not to engage in those activities. Okay, the last couple of things. First of all, it lists the textbook that you are responsible for purchasing. You can get that from our bookstore. It is Essentials of Human Anatomy and Physiology with Mastering A&P by Marie, and we're in the 10th edition. This is the schedule. It tells you on what date, what topic we will be talking about. It also tells you when the exams and quizzes will be held, and there are going to be hard and fast deadlines in the eraser page. If you go to the coursework page, you'll be able to see the time that the assessments will close. Some of them you'll be taking on the eraser page, some you'll be taking on the Mastering A&P site. So you can pretty much plan on the exams being on the dates that are here. So exam 1 will be on February 5th. It'll be on chapters 1 and 2. And you'll have a quiz on just the language anatomy part of the book that will be due January 29th at 11 p.m. And that quiz you're actually going to be taking on Mastering A&P. All right, let's see. Seems to me I missed the disabilities coordinator. I should have slowed down here. We have a new disabilities coordinator. Her name is Jennifer Lyons. You can find her in the Academic Affairs Office, LaPointe 107. This is her phone number and this is her email address. If you would like to request disability accommodations, please contact her. She will generate a letter that you can show to me, and I can arrange for you to take exams in a quiet place with additional time than I would give other students. Okay, so let's go back to the main eraser page, and I'll talk about some things that you have there. One of the ways to manipulate or move around eraser is to use these breadcrumbs up here. Very often if you're working in eraser and you try to go back to a previous page by using the back button, it will kick you out of the program. So I want to go back to the main page, which is that link right there, and talk about what is on here. So first of all, there's a welcome statement, and it tells you that you need to register your clickers. So you have some paperwork that comes with your clickers that will help you do this too. This is a live link. You can click here, and what it wants you to do is establish an account, and you're going to put in your clicker number. You can find your clicker number on the back of the clicker down at the bottom. I recommend that everybody put a piece of tape over that, because if you want the number to be there, if you want to sell it, you're going to want that number to still be there and it wears off. I also recommend that you carry around a spare pair of batteries so that if your clicker dies in the middle of a clicker session, that you will be able to continue. So as you're registering your clicker, I don't want you to use the number, your student ID number that begins with a 2. I want you to use your first name, middle initial, and last name, all lowercase. So very similar to your email format for your campus email address. Okay, so that's the clicker. I expect everybody to have their clickers registered by the second class and bring them to the first class. And even though you haven't registered them, you can still use them. The software will keep track of the number. You will also have to establish an account at www.masteringamp.com. And this is where the site where you'll be doing your homework. The course ID number that it will request as you're registering is Bio 105 Carboni. Okay, and so that account should be set up the first week, because you've got some assignments that will be due fairly soon. Okay, so then this is where this podcast that you're listening to is located. It's last semester's, but this one will go up there soon. And then when we get into Chapter 3, I'll be talking about that handout that's right there. Okay, so what else do you have? Well, you are going to be taking some of your quizzes on the coursework page, so let's go look at that. Not for a while yet, but actually let me change this to what it looks like for students. Change the view. So it's telling you that your Mastering A&P Chapter 1 homework is due January 26 at 11 p.m. and that your quiz for Language of Anatomy is due Wednesday, 1/29, and I'll talk about that in class more in terms of what will be on that quiz. So then these links are just where I will put grades in, and down here when you go to take the quiz on Chapter 9, it will be here on Eraser. You will click there. And so I'll give you information as to where you're going to take all of these quizzes. Some of them you take on the Mastering A&P site, some of them you take on the Eraser site. We'll get into more of that. And also, these are simply links where I will put your grades. You will work in the Mastering site for your homework. That program will generate a grade. I will manually transfer those back to the site. So I will use that link to put grades in. And then there's the final at the end of the semester, which we don't have to worry about yet. Okay, so before coming to class, there are some learning tools that will help you in class. And I give you the text to the PowerPoint outlines. So if you click on the PowerPoint text outlines, let's just go look at what Chapter 1 looks like. We'll open that. And it's basically the text from the slides that I will use during lecture. And so what I recommend is that you print these out before lecture, and you will be able to take notes on them. So you will have put together a very good study guide between reading your book and using these PowerPoint outlines that take the information and boil it down, and the notes that you've written there to fill in some of the things that I talk about. That will be a very good study guide. I also recommend that for some things, like maybe the definition of anatomy and physiology, you actually make some flashcards. Flashcards work very well to memorize certain things that you'll need to know. Okay, so those are the PowerPoint text outlines. Let's go back to the main page. You also can go to the Gradebook and see the grades that you receive for all of the coursework. So eventually all these exams will be filled in with grades, and mastering the homework grades will be there, your quiz grades will be there. You can also see your individual grades by going to the coursework page and clicking on the particular link there too. Okay, sometimes you're going to be studying for quizzes where you're going to need to know diagrams. What I do is I give you those diagrams without the words. I give you the leader lines for the structures that you need to know, and what helps is that you can print these out and get a report cover, an erasable report cover. Put the printed out diagram in the report cover and get an erasable marker and label, erase, label, check, erase, label, check, erase until you know all of those structures that you are to know. So what you're seeing is that this is one of the diagrams for the language of anatomy quiz, and this is probably going to boot me out of the program, but I will then have to get back in. Let me see if I can find, no, booted me out. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the SAM site, SAM Connect site, and find the Bio 105 classroom again. All right, it is right here. Okay, so that's what the image section is all about, and it's organized by what diagrams you're going to need to know for that assessment. So you will need to know these diagrams, these 4 diagrams for quiz number 1. When you get to exam number 2, there aren't any diagrams on exam number 1, but on exam number 2 you're going to need to label the structures of the general cell. When you get to quiz number 2, it's labeling bones, so these 4 diagrams are on there. And so for each assessment I've put up the diagrams that you are responsible for knowing how to label. Okay, so under collaboration, you can email me. We're not using student forums or chats, but if you go down to here and click on Course Mates, all of the students in the class and me are in here. So here's me with my Newfie Luna. So if you wanted to email me, you could just click on that box, go all the way down to the bottom, and email selected members, and then a email box will come up. If you scroll down a little bit, you can make it a private email. You can put in the subject, the body, and then the send button is down here. You can email other students from that in the class from that format as well, from that Course Mates email. It's under Course Mates, that's the email function. Okay, so the other thing you have available to you are vodcasts. So what these are recordings of my voice along with the PowerPoint slides. They're basically a recording of lectures. So this one is a canned lecture. I don't lecture on it in class, so it's at the top, but let's go down to where, I guess these are loaded backwards. Not exactly. So, no, I guess they're not. So vodcast explanation, quiz 1 language of anatomy. So the first lecture that's associated with, well, actually this link right here is talking about what's on the quiz, and the first lecture on chapter 1, this is link right here is chapter 1 and part of chapter 2. So all of the chapters are represented here. They're from previous semesters that I've recorded. So if you miss a lecture or you want to go over information that I've talked about again, these are always available to you. They're YouTube videos, and you can stop them and start them, listen to whatever you want, and make as much use of them as you would like. In order to get the content to download, sometimes you have to click a band. This is Firefox. click a band at the top or the bottom to approve all of the content. I'm not getting the actual vodcast to come through here, so let me see if I can get it to show. All right, there's some security setting that's preventing that, but typically it will load automatically. All right, I think that is just about all that I wanted to talk about. If this podcast generates any questions by you, feel free to bring them to class, and we'll go over whatever it is that you need to know about. So that concludes this podcast.